Hello and welcome to the edition of Match Up here, where we're going to review the games going on this evening, this weekend by Clover.ie. This weekend they're showing 4 games from the senior games from the Laois Shopping Centre Senior Championship, and then 2 games on Sunday also of the semi-finals of the intermediate games. We're coming to you here from the home of the county champions, Portarlington, and thanks David Murphy for our chairman here for bringing us over here, but there's only one place we could come, and that's the Champions Place, and that's where we're starting here. Also joining me tonight to review the games is Chris Conway. Chris, our Kilcrews, of course, recent member of the Laois Senior Football Management Team. He's no introduction, of course, being a long-time player for Laois as well, and will be well versed in what's going on here. I think you beat every match, I think, this year, senior. And Eddie gets, of course, no introduction either, former All-Ireland referee, under-20 football manager here in Laois, and then manages his own club Courtwood for a good few years. Again, the man well versed in what's going on here in Laois at the moment. But as said here to my right, David Murphy was previously a chairman here at Portarlington Club, proud member of the club, and sons playing and all that. He's now got another job for himself. He's on the football committee, and Tony Barnick is chairing that. So we're going to talk to David shortly just about the new format of that we've had this year. But of course the show, we can't go on here, but we have, without thanking our sponsors. Tonight, Ballylinan Brewery are one of our sponsors, also Dick Dunn's Bar in Stradbally, Rocky's Takeaway in Ballylinan, and finally Irish Power Energy Drinks, and we're going to keep us hydrated here tonight as well, are sponsors for tonight's show, so that's great. So we're going to talk about the games, we're going to review them quickly enough, I suppose, not going to bore you, keep you all night at it. But firstly, David, as a member of the Football Board Committee, just want to ask you about the championship this year, and I think Braz may come in a little later on, but certainly the championship, the format this year, I think, has been very, very positive, to say.
Absolutely, Pat. The county board are getting great reviews from all around the clubs within the county, but more importantly, we're getting reviews and praise from all around the world. Yeah. Now that our families can watch from this weekend, they can watch all the quarterfinals in the senior championship, and we can watch the intermediate semi-finals all over the world in conjunction with Laois GA and Clover.ie. Yeah. So we're really excited, looking forward to it. And our new format this year, I think, has added a huge dimension to the championship. So what's happened this year is we have 16 teams involved. This is the quarter-final weekend, but 16 teams are still involved, and 16 teams will be still involved for the next couple of rounds as well. It's a huge change. So previously we had, up to the last number of years, if you won your first 2 games, you went into the quarter-final. If you lost your first 2 games, you went into the relegation. But this year we've changed in Laois, and we've introduced round 3. So the losers of
the round
2,
yeah. And it is, yeah. And when I looked at the start of the year, it was hard to get a grip. But basically, up till now, and I think Chris or Eddie might come in this, up till now, once you won a game, it meant that clubs were happy, that was their job done. But this year is totally different, because last round 3, for instance, those games, what was at stake was, as you said, David, the winners win 2 games, win straight to quarterfinal. That's the same as the year before. But this year, even if you only won 1 game, you still had to fight in round 3 to either go to quarterfinal or go on to big competition.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, unfortunately, at stages the last number of years, you definitely had maybe a handful of clubs or a certain amount of clubs happy to win 1 game, possibly training to win 1 game, weren't really looking to push on and win a championship, or didn't see it within their remit to go on and win a championship or challenge for it. And so as a result, it has kept obviously their focus upon the championship and their need to be successful, obviously maintain for longer. And the obvious thing is that clubs are in the championship for 5 weeks longer. Yeah. So when whereas you would have had some teams gone out of the championship already, that there's 5 more weeks of proper training going on within their clubs, and which will hopefully benefit and raise the standard of Laois football going forward.
Pat, it's an excellent format. I think it's an excellent format. But not only have we got the quarterfinals this week, we have the 4 games in the Senior B as well. And Ballylinan is in that, Strabble is in that, and Parkrand, they're all good teams. And they'll be very competitive games. And each one of these teams, I want to win that Senior B as well. So that's, I think it's excellent. I really think it's after changing the whole championship. I just think it's a brilliant, brilliant format that the boys come up with.
For the Senior B, David, you also, there's a competition, there's a trophy there to go.
There is a trophy to win. So initially we'll have the quarterfinals, and 4 teams that win the first round will go into the semi-final proper to win the Senior B championship. And the 4 that lose the first round, they go into relegation and try to avoid it from there. So you have semi-final and final, open draw for all these games. Yeah. So it's very exciting. Clubs involved right up to the end. I don't think, I certainly don't ever remember it happening. I remember years ago playing a match and teams were finished after one match. It certainly has improved, and going forward, this is new and this is exciting. And there's no games that don't have a meaning anymore. Every game has a meaning.
And the 8 teams in the league, the exact same thing. They're all out this weekend or Friday night, and so the whole, although between the senior and intermediate, every club is still involved.
Every team is still involved, and the day the dead rubber is gone. There's no more dead rubber. You're fighting, whether you're fighting to win a Senior A championship, a Senior B championship, or you're fighting relegation. But you're fighting and you're getting there and working hard from start to finish.
I think, David, or Pat, sorry, that if you to be relegated out of the League Senior Championship now, you have to lose 5 games in the trot. Would that be right in saying that? I think it'd be right in saying that.
Well, you could win 1 and lose 4 out of it.
You could, like,
if
that happens, see, you maybe deserve to get relegated. You know what I mean? If that does happen, so it gives everyone a fighting chance to. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
And it's there's only one team to be relegated. Still only one.
Yeah.
But it's still the closest thing you'll get to knockout championship with the format.
Yes, correct.
You see the hassle that there is in different counties there with the group phases, and as David mentioned, you've dead rubbers in certain places and that, and you've controversy now over what decides on score difference. At least for the last number of years in the League Championship, no one has ever been knocked out of the championship on score difference, which I don't believe any club team should be around the county, and so this is the closest thing you can get to knockout whilst maintaining the interest at the top level. Obviously they're striving to win the championship, but as David says, it's the Senior B will give the incentive for certain clubs, and the trapdoor is there for the others.
So they really getting praise. Each J for once is brilliant. Fine, well deserved. So from first of all the Clobber batch format coming up, great to see the games and people will be able to watch them. And the competitions that you've introduced, well done. And we're, as I said, plenty's there for the weekend for everyone to get tuned in. Either go to someone they're not being, but there's 6 great matches on cover over the weekend. As I said, 4 senior and the 2 intermediate semi-finals. So great viewing for anyone. Big package out there as well. I think it's $99.99 for the year of whole package. So again,
it's great value for the year, and it covers all the other counties as well. It's not just Leash that cover. So it's hugely important for Leash throughout the world, not throughout Leash, throughout the whole world.
Thanks, David. So we're going to talk about your own club, and thanks again for the use of the county champions. So we're going to go through the games, I suppose, as they appear or as they're going to appear through Clobber, and we're not going to pick any team. So that's the way we're going to do it in rotation. So our first team game, 5 o'clock Saturday evening, county champions Portarlington play Courtwood. Eddie.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Portarlington. Look, they beat Ballylinan, they beat Strabble, they go straight into the quarter final. Have they shown enough to you so far that there's a 4 in a row in the offing?
Not so far, Pat. They've still hit top gear. I think I was watching both matches, and I think Ballylinan were right in the game with about 10 minutes, 15 minutes to go. There was only 2 points in it, and I think Strabble kicked a point with about, Colin Bailey got a great score for Strabble with about 5 minutes to go. The ball within 1. So teams were there right up to the end against Port. Are they the best team in Laois? I'm afraid so, yes. They are. They're the top dogs, and they deservedly so. They're an awesome team. They're after getting a few hits, Pat, this year through injuries. Whole full backline gone through this cruciate ligaments. Don't know what's going on, and people retiring. players retiring, players transferred, players travelling. So like they're down 6 or 7 quality players. But with the size of Portarlington's panel and the quality of it, to have great players to replace them. Yeah. So they're probably still the top dog and still going to be the hardest team to beat. And Sunday, or Saturday evening, yes, for sure, we'll be up against it. I'm going to try and play it down a bit here now. I see Chris smiling here beside me. He comes from a small club like myself, and we're not given much of a chance, Pat. We were 7-1 yesterday, but I see we're 6-1 now. So maybe Chris put tenors on us there. But listen, Pat, yesterday the team to beat for sure. Quality players all over the field. But Courtwood have a good team, Pat. I think we're going very well. We've 2 big outs for the game for us, Niall Dunnock and Conor Hogan, and they're a massive loss. But we've good young lads there now, Pat, and they're turning 22, 23 now, and these young lads don't fear anyone. And it's the same going on the weekend. They're confident. It was even at the training last night, and they're confident going to play Port on Saturday. But listen, if we get them in an off day, Pat, a couple of teams go our own way, you never know what can happen. But they're definitely the team to beat.
And from Portarlington point of view, look, Conor Murphy, their free taker, absolutely. Paddy O'Sullivan has certainly stood out, I think, in their 2 games as a lad has drawn him into it and done as he's done with you, Chris, in county setup. I mean, he's been really the standout player from so far. Jake Foster's back. He got a game into them the last day that they really benefit from that. Not sure about what Scott Osborne, whether he's back or even, that's
he'll be playing
going to happen yet. But, and then I know Jason Moore was injured the last day. That was a big worry for him. The 5 weeks, just tip him on it, we'll only talk about it at this time, on this game only, I suppose. That 5-week break. Anthony Cunningham, probably at the time when I talked to him, he said, look, it's might give us a chance to get a bit of healing back into a few lads.
Yeah. And 5 weeks, Pat, see, 5 weeks can work in your advantage and your disadvantage, but maybe from Port's point of view, they had a couple of practice games there, I know about, and there were top quality games they played. But listen, the injuries, I don't know about their injury fronts or whatever. I presume Scott Osborne will be back in goal if he's fit. Paddy O'Sullivan, pound for pound, the best footballer in the nation the last 2 to 3 years, I suppose. To be fair, quality all over the field. Rian Murphy, Colin Murphy's, big David Murphy's a massive loss. I have to say it to them, since retiring, but they're still their team to beat, Pat. Yeah.
So, Chris, Eddie has talked down Courtwood. Did we give them any chance at all? Looked like they lost to Stirling first day out, but then they bounced back, beat Park Rocknesca and Ballylinan. We don't forget that Sean O'Flynn goal in the end.
That's it.
Among other things.
Yeah, they took out Ballylinan, in the last round, who would have been, a quite fancy for a lot of people for the championship. They've been building the last number of years, and they've been coming with a very good underage group. And a number of people would be surprised to see them in the Senior B. They're probably people's fancy for that, depending on what way they're treating it now. But Courtwood, at this stage last year as well, they took out Graiguecullen in the quarter final, and they would have been rank outsiders in that as well. They have a very dynamic type team. They've good pace. They have a few forwards. Eddie's saying Niall Donagher and others are out, but a bit like Scott Osborne, that remains to be seen till the weekend. He's still the linchpin for them up front. They've won minor championships as well. A lot of these young lads have won minor championships. So, as Eddie said, they don't fear anyone, and rightly so. And they've good football pedigree in them.
You look at Paul O'Flynn, Dylan Kane, Alan Kinsey. They're a threat to anyone.
That's it, Joe.
Particularly if you're looking at Portarlington's full back line, after suffering with Alex and the Bennett's out. Oh yeah, and I'm sure there's as good a lads to step in, but. Again, Alex and the 2 Bennetts have been phenomenal backline.
Absolutely, yeah. And whenever they were called upon, they were always there for Portarlington the last number of years. It's a massive blow. I suppose the 5 weeks, as well as maybe healing a couple of other bodies, it has probably given, they lost the 2 cornerbacks 9 or 10 days before the championship. Yeah. It's a big upset to a team, and Anthony Cunningham's team, even in building process. So whilst lads might have been getting game time in the league, now they know that they're at the forefront of the team, and it's probably in terms of structure of defence and things like that, getting to know each other even from a defensive point of view, those 5 weeks will probably have benefited Portarlington.
Yeah, so as you said, we're not going to plumb for one team or the other. That's not what we're here tonight to do. But certainly Portarlington as reigning champions are their strength. But Courtwood, you know, I mean, we expect them to, like they did last day, they have potential to take out a big down, so there's no reason why.
I think the longer we stay in the game, Pat, the better it is for us.
Yeah.
Stay there as long as we can.
Okay.
And they'll stay going to the bitter end, you're guaranteed of that.
Yeah, that's it.
So our second game then, the weekend Saturday evening there at 6:30, O'Dempsey's versus Portlaoise. Chris, O'Dempsey's, you know, beat Graiguecullen, beat Emo, ended up straight into the quarter final. There's something different about them, is there?
Yeah, but they've lost a number of players from last year, you know, after getting to the final, and you have to commend them for getting straight into the quarter final through the winners section. Again, they've introduced, you know what I mean, a bit of young blood up front. Yeah. Mark Barry is obviously still their talisman, but the Howlands, you know, they lost Hatch Finlay, who would have been a key player for them and a key scorer over the last number of years. Stuart Nurney at the back, you know, players they would have relied on, but they're still there, and you know, as I said, you have to commend them getting over Graiguecullen and getting over Emo. And they, again, a bit like Courtwood, you know, they'll probably play. They can play any sort of style of football, you know, and they're generally go forward ball, so they're always dangerous in that respect against any team. And generally, their matches are relatively high scoring in contrast to maybe some other teams and that. So again, you're looking at the potential that they've had over the last number of years. People probably may have felt that they should have won one at some stage. It hasn't happened for them. It might still.
Yeah, and I suppose the final last year, they shook that off. They don't look like they've held on to it. That was, you know, I mean, definitely not a great day for them, put it mildly. But Barry Howland seems to be back. I think I saw him strolling around the picnic.
Ben Cohen is back as well, good footballer.
Yeah. So and if the Hatch is back, he'll be, you know, different. Owen Finlay, I think, has come in as well. In fairness, he's kind of very sporty, very strong up front there. And Mark Barry just seems to have got that edge again. And definitely against Emo, you probably would have said he won that battle with himself and Sean Green.
Yeah. I did. I thought maybe, listen, Emo probably put Sean Green and Mark Barry might been the right thing, you know. But listen, I think this could be a right good game. If I was to have a gamble of a draw match, this would be one I'd be.
Yeah, and Owen Carroll seems to have them.
Yeah, going well.
Fitness going well, and
going well.
Portlaoise, Eddie. Look, what do we say about them? They lost to St. Joe's the first day, then they beat Rosenallis and they beat Ardis Killeshin.
Yeah.
Just about, I suppose. You know, when you look at it, they got over those, you know, those games against Rosenallis, Killeshin. If you were looking at them, you know, as a potential, you know, winners, whenever the final is, you mightn't vote for them, to be honest with you, because they just don't seem to be, you know, firing on all cylinders, but they're getting there. They're still there, I suppose.
Not yet, Pat, and you're right, so far, but this could be the weekend that Portlaoise start off and lift it up, because we're kind of waiting for this kind of jump up from them. As you said, they bet Josephs in the first round, and they were expected to beat Rosenallis and Ardis Killeshin fairly comfortably, which they probably did in the end, maybe struggled for a while to do. But you're right, they're not playing that well, they don't look to be playing that well, but still, you just could never write off Portlaoise. You know that yourself. So there's lots of young players in around the fold, like, you know, Ben Dempsey and Damien Larkin and Kevin Swain. They were on to the League Senior panel this year and kind of got onto the team. And young McAvoy's in there as well, and of course I have Kieran Lillis. I know Kieran might be kind of getting on in years. I'm not sure his age or that, but he's still the main man for Portlaoise. Because I just think, obviously, Owen Kearns has some kind of a plan for Kieran Lillis. We beat him 2 or 3 years ago, and he was one player along with Garrett Dillon that I kind of had to signal out, because these lads kind of dictate the games if you let them, and he's quite capable of doing that. Kieran has been an outstanding footballer for both Laois and still is at Laois for the last 8 to 10 years. Like, so, I think this game is going to be a cracking game. I just think this could be very, very close. As I said, this could be as a draw. If I was to predict a draw in one game over the weekend, this would be the game I'd go for. Like, you know what I mean? But it's all there. It's all there. I don't know. We're kind of waiting for Portlaoise. I wouldn't write off Portlaoise,
No.
you know, at all. But the Dempseys have every chance. So an interesting game. Yeah.
Paul Callahan pulling out the strings up front.
Yeah.
And so too is Ricky Marr there. You know, Conor Boyle has come in.
Yeah.
Come back from.
Great to see him back.
Yeah, from a serious knee injury.
Work out of him, you know.
Yeah, no, Portlaoise, probably generally the one guarantee with Portlaoise is they'll always get better as the championship goes on. It's a bit like, you could say even in the current format with Dublin and Kerry, they're almost guaranteed to be in an All-Ireland quarter-final.
Yeah.
In Laois, we're probably guaranteed Portlaoise and Portarlington at the moment are going to be in a senior championship quarter-final. Oftentimes that's maybe the time when they're most vulnerable in the first round of a knockout, but again, will the extra game have benefited Portlaoise? I don't know. Particularly with the style of football that was played in it and things like that. They've probably drifted away from their natural style of football over the last number of years of attacking, dynamic kicking game, and whether it'll get them over a line to a championship. They were very close to obviously beating Portarlington last year. Remains to be seen. But as I say, they've probably been doing a bit of tinkering with the team as well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see three big boys, Kieran Nillis and say Damon Larkin and Kieran McAvoy, the three of them out around the middle. Yeah. One of them playing half forward and just dominating that area at the weekend. I think that's what they might strive for. I don't think that Damon Larkin at full forward is necessarily best for Portlaoise or best for Damon, and it remains to be seen what way they go with it at the weekend.
Okay, tight one.
Tight one.
Yeah. Well, Dempsey some last year and Portlaoise.
Yeah.
Always be there. So on Sunday at 12, both games are on at the same time. There's semi-finals. One of them is in Stradbally, and the other one is in Annanock. So both of them come in live in club. The first one, and Chris, I'll come to you on these, is Ballylinan and Mountmellick, only by the fact that your own club is involved in this intermediate campaign championship, and you know the B section, the B competition. But for Ballylinan and Mountmellick, you know, close to finals, they've got there. I think he might have been the team that in that relegation battle a few years ago, Stradbally, that Mountmellick dropped, made the first drop. They've been at the final, they haven't just got over the line, they just haven't turned up with them, and Ballylinan look to be trying to get back fairly quick. Yeah,
no different to ourselves, Mountmellick. You know, you probably, that first year down, you know, that's your best chance of getting back up, getting the bounce factor out of it. It didn't happen for them. They've probably struggled a bit since. Ballylinan are hoping that bounce factor will obviously work in their favour. Ballylinan have a lot of good minors after coming through as well the last couple of years. So like while they had an experienced team, they have a big physical team, probably one of the biggest teams in Laois, let's say, size-wise, you know. But this year they've been able to introduce, as I say, a lot of younger players as well. The likes of Darragh Lukeman and that, who has done very well for them. And up front, they still have a massive threat at Gary Walsh and Cottle Dunn. You know, they're like, again, Ballylinan are like a traditional outfit. They don't mind booming ball into the full forward line, because on the law of averages, if either of those two boys get the ball bearing down on goal, you know, they could end up scoring 3 goals easily in any match. And so they play their percentages with that. Mountmellick, we probably maybe caught them with us, you know, in the first round with a bit of a surprise. They were after having a good campaign. Colin Costa as player manager and doing well with them. Done well, got promotion out of the league, and we managed to turn them over in Timahoe, but they've dusted themselves down since. And you know, everyone knew going out with Timahoe that evening they'd still be involved there in the business end of the season. And they are, you know. And again, Garrod Hanrahan is back probably just to give them a bit of experience at the back. And as I say, Colin Coss, Owen George and young Finn Culleton has good pace up front and he's good threat on goals, you know.
Yeah, but it's probably the tougher semi-finals that Mountmellick got a tough draw to get back to the final with Ballylinan.
Yeah, people might say that, but you know, for them to win it, you know, they're probably going to have to beat them anyway. Yeah. So they're possibly better off getting them in a semi-final. Yeah. Ballylinan coming in after 5 weeks, you know what I mean, after coming through the winning section. Do you know, so it I think it might suit Mountmellick better to have them in a semi-final than a final, you know. And but obviously again, Ballylinan would be from the outset the favourites, but they haven't set the world alight. The first day against Crettyard played them without Evan O'Carroll, and they pushed Ballylinan the whole way. Granted, the second day against Ballyrowan Abbey's second team, the game looked to be done and dusted. They were 9 or 10 points up, and suddenly 3 goals were flashed in 5 or 6 minutes. So if Pádraig Clancy had anything to get onto them about with 5 minutes left, he certainly had by the end of the game, and that, you know. And maybe it was a wake up call that they might need.
Two good teams, Pat. Sorry, Pat.
Absolutely.
Ballylinan and Mountmellick. Mountmellick's team we beat in the intermediate final 4 years to get up, and they're kind of still there ever since. Two teams are very good goalkeepers, Pat. Young Tom Wright and goals for Ballylinan, and Owen Keoghan goals for Mountmellick. So two good teams. There's the makings of a great match. That another game that could be very tight now. But at Ballylinan, Pádraig Clancy's with Ballylinan now. Seems to have them fairly fit and going well. And as Chris said already about Colin Cost, first year player manager. And they're going well, so yeah, it's the makings of a great game.
Yeah, Pádraig will be around the field, I'm sure himself.
Yeah.
Okay, second game is on the same time. Portlaoise, obviously their second team, are going to play Crettyard. You would think Crettyard now, not to say now, but Evan O'Carroll is there. Kieran Burke, it seems to go well. He's gone well in the hurling end of it now, so I'm sure he's fit.
Yeah.
But you know, Ardis Cahoes, you had to play them, and they came out on top, which gave them a good run for it. But
yeah, they did. Again, we after beating Mountmellick, we subsequently lost to the two of them. Do you know what I mean? We lost to Portlaoise over in Annanock, gave away 4 goals in the first 22 minutes. It's not ideal, and then a goal the last minute. You know, after doing well in the second half. But they've plenty again. Portlaoise. Again, they've plenty of talent within that team. There's 9 or 10 lads have played minor or under 20 with Laois in around the squad, and I had Conor Dunphy back as well, who would have been a regular starter with their senior team and is going well up front. Jack Brown back in midfield as well, sort of leading them from there, and young Josh Hogan, who would have played a couple of years ago wing back for the seniors. He was with Laois under 20 this year. You know, he has good pace, good legs for getting up and down the field. Crettyard, naturally, they have the marquee forward in Evan O'Carroll, backed up by Cormac Murphy and Kieran Burke, midfield, who hopefully, he seems to have put his injuries, he's been unlucky with injuries over the last number of years. Hopefully he's seen to put that behind him and going well, as you say, in the hurling and the football. Midfield for Crettyard this year, and that he broke forward very well against us, got the goal in the first half, and they pushed it out to half time. After half time, I suppose the game was back in the melting pot, but they also have like 3 young lads: John Brennan wing forward, Dara Kelly corner back, and Jonah Kelly corner forward. 3 lads that were with the Laois under 20s this year, so that certainly has stood them in good stead, and probably their panel, a bit like Ballylinan, Crettyard's panel has improved immensely over the last 2-3 years, and it may be enough to give them a final push.
Yeah, the Crettyard was probably in the night before to see the Portlaoise play their players. Maybe a couple might be used, probably not the senior. Portlaoise are able to do that because I suppose they have the numbers and have the players. And I know Craig Rogers, I believe his injury is out. He would have been back there playing hard from
it'd be a massive blowout to Portlaoise, because I seen him playing last year in the meet, and he was pulling the strings out. He was very good now, so that'd be a big blow to them. Yeah.
So look, again another tight one. Probably Cretty maybe fancy that one, but look, we'll see. I said again, 2 cracking games, both at the same time on Clubber, i.e. and I said they're in Strawberry and Annanock respectively. So on Sunday then at 2:30, the third quarter final, Graiguecullen play Killeshin. Graiguecullen lost to them since the first day. We know, in there was round 1. Then they beat the Heat, and it was a one-sided game to say the least, I suppose. And then they beat Stradley in round 3. Jason Ryan, the manager down there. I suppose the first day it was safe to say, Mark Timmins went off, at half time. It was a huge blow for them, and you could see they picked it up then after that. They had to, albeit they were playing the heat, I suppose, but again, they're back there. They're nice neighbourly little clash there between the two of them.
This probably could be the most entertaining game of the weekend, Pat. Listen, it's a potential to be a great game as well. And as you said, since the first game, Grape had really after kind of improving a bit as they're going along and they're getting better, maybe at the right time. I would expect them to win at the weekend, Pat. Although the last game they played against Strawberry, they were kind of mediocre in the first half, but they picked it up in the second half and played well. Loads of talent all over the field as well now, and young talent as well, which is a good sign for Graiguecullen. But they obviously rely terribly much on Mark Timmins. This is the man that pulls the strings. I don't know his age. I don't like saying players' ages, but he's like a fine wine. Mark Timmins, isn't he? The older he gets, the better he gets. But he does pull all the strings. And again, if Killeshin can do the homework right and kind of limit his kind of ball into him or ball to him, they'll be halfway there. But the young players and the young McGrath lad on the full back line is a brilliant footballer. This lad's a great potential, this lad, I think, coming up. Collins as well as be in the backs there, and young Dorg on the wing backs, another great footballer. Obviously Timmins, and then we have Dicey Riley, another chap, great.
Liam Walker is a busybody.
He is, and
he's everywhere. He pops up, and
they got in the Dorgan lad, Chris might know him, the centre forward there this year.
Aaron's brother Ben.
He definitely is a kind of a handful going around. He's a big lad, and they play a nice kind of style of football. Try to play it like they kind of get defensive and kind of break quick, and leave 2 or 3 people up there. Young Jack Byrne is another young lad who's been in the full forward, and of course Conor Kelly, the chap that takes the frees and that. And they have a top manager, kind of a proven good manager. So I think they could win it the weekend, Pat, and a semi-final in there. You know what I mean? Who knows after that? But this could be an interesting game, Pat, because it's a local derby. I'm not sure who the referee is. I didn't check it. Could be busy enough.
Sure, they wouldn't have any influence on you, would they?
Well, I'm not saying he's going to be. He could be busy enough. You don't know. But yeah, it could be a cracker as well now at the weekend.
So, Killeshin, Chris, and you know probably both these teams better than anyone here on their own. Probably a lot of these lads have gone through not big. Killeshin will love, I'm sure, facing down to Graiguecullen. They'll love the opportunity, but they've probably, they've gone over the heat in Killeshin. They got to the quarter final. It's great for Kieran Kelly this first year. They're delighted with that. But you know what I mean. It's been a passage that hasn't been as difficult as maybe other teams. It's safe to say for Killeshin to get there. But they'll love to take on Graiguecullen, I'm sure. Yeah,
true. They'll definitely be looking forward to the local derby aspect of it. Obviously, they've never beaten Graiguecullen in championship football. In senior championship football, it looked like a few years ago they were about to, and Bob Doug came off the bench and rescued Graiguecullen with a late goal. Obviously, all the pressure is probably on Graiguecullen. You know what I mean? They'd be obviously people's fancy in that, and the bigger, say, town area or part of the parish, but nonetheless, like Graiguecullen have probably struggled. They struggle up front, as Eddie says. They've some very good players at the back and breaking out with the ball, but they struggle to put it on the scoreboard, and that has been their Achilles heel over the last number of years. You look even back at the Strawberry game, had Danny Bulger not saved the penalty, despite Graiguecullen dominating it for 40 minutes, Strawberry would have been gone in front, and it may, you don't know what way the game would have went. Kieran Kelly's done a fabulous job with Killeshin. Obviously, they were in a relegation final last year, but I suppose from a Killeshin's point of view, and definitely from Kieran Kelly's point of view, the most pleasing aspect of it would have been how they finished both games. The last 15-20 minutes against the Heat and Ballylinan, they were behind in both of them. Let's say around that 20-18 minute mark, and they finished strong. To win both games and that, and. Again, like they have, I suppose, the sweeper keeper in Killian Roach, who's had a huge impact upon them, and the top class goalkeeper. But obviously, he's almost dead eye upon the frees and coming up and launching big scores for them from play as well. He's a super left foot, and Conor Heffernan seems to, have got back to the form that he was showing last year with the under-20s and with the seniors. Took him a while, possibly this year, to find, you know what I mean, his top form. Owen Lowry was missing the first day.
Yeah.
Again, for Killeshin to go out and win without Owen Lowry in the first round would have been a big boost to them, psychologically as well as everything. He was obviously key the last day against Graiguecullen, and even, you know, himself and Evan, obviously the brother, they work well together. There's a good file, and Evan can oftentimes be dangerous for scoring goals and that, you know. So as I said, they wouldn't be long coming down off the hill if they managed to beat Graiguecullen at the weekend, and they might be down for a while.
I think,
down the bottom further.
I think, Pat, and I'm not honestly not putting down any teams or the draw that they got or whatever, but to beat the Heat and beat Graiguecullen in the first 2 rounds of the championship, so they would have been favourites to win them games. I think Killeshin, so they need a scalp now. Yeah. So now is Killeshin's time to get that scalp now. So then I think for a successful season they'll have to beat kind of Graiguecullen to get to at least a semi-final, because I don't think to be overly celebrating just beating Heat and Graiguecullen in the championship and losing to Graig. So this is a massive game for Killeshin. They'll have to win this quarter-final, and so this is their time to introduce themselves to the championship proper now, to get into a semi-final by beating Graig.
Yeah, okay. So a nice little game to wind up the proceedings on Sunday evening at 4:15. St. Joseph versus Emo. Chris, St. Joseph's straight through to the quarter-final by beating the Heat again, and Ballylinan Abbey. Mick Dempsey, the manager down there. If ever there's a team that Eddie talked about needs to shine, I suppose they need to just nail it on again and get there. And they won't mind taking on Emo, I presume. But
no, two of the obviously traditional, you know what I mean, very traditional teams, and that stalwarts of East GA, you know what I mean, both clubs and that, you know, with proud histories and that. St. Joseph's, yeah, they've been knocking at the door for a number of years now. Mick Dempsey is obviously 3rd, possibly 4th year with them. They have, they added on O'Flaherty last year, who was a big boost to them up front. For experience and things like that. He was injured going into the O'Dempsey's game last year. Only came on for the last 20 minutes. It didn't work out for them, and they found a way. They found a way this year in the 2 tight matches against Portlaoise and Ballylinan Abbey to come out and win those games. So that'd be the most pleasing aspect, I think, from Mick's point of view and the management's point of view, that they found the resolve and the wherewithal to go and win those games. Granted, neither of them were knockout, and this is the first, as I say, big contest in terms of knockout football for them. Again, there would be people's fancy, because they have again plethora of players, a massive squad. There are a few probably that, you know what I mean, can add a bit of X factor, but maybe not enough over the last number of years that they can rely on for chipping in with maybe 3 or 4 points upon regular occasions when it comes to the knockout championship. If they can continue with as they have done this year to find those scores when they need them, then obviously there'll be a big threat for everyone in the county. You know what I mean? And finally, they might get the Laney Cup back over the Windy Gap.
Yeah, apologies, of course, it was Portlaoise, the first round, they're wrong, but that was a big one again, to get over Portlaoise. They were nervous coming to that, it was certain, and they got over that one. And then Ballylinan Abbey, 2 big scalps, you know what I mean, to take from Joseph's point of view. So, we're waiting for them, and this could be their weekend to bounce and get going there. But Emo will be resilient, to say the least, Eddie. That's another segment of the year.
Yeah, I'd be very familiar with, obviously, most of the Emo team would have managed a lot of them with St. Paul's at juvenile level coming up, and these lads can be awkward to beat now at times. Emo, when they're on it, they ain't bad, Pat. And I know that they played the first round against Roselannis now, and I thought it was a poor game, Pat, if being honest. They didn't play well against Dempsey's either, and for half the Clonaslee match, they didn't really play that well either, but upon a good show in the second half again, Clonaslee. But if Emo can hit form now, I'm not so sure Joseph's will beat them that handy. They have, I think, young Liam Crowley's arrived home a couple of weeks ago, so he's a help in defence. They had a couple of injury worries there. I think the goalkeeper could be back to replace the ever-ready Paul Lawler. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one yet, but a couple of lads are kind of injured there. They're a bit of a worry to them, all right. I better not mention their names, but yeah, they're top lads. So, but Emo get going. They've loads of a good full forward line, Pat. They've young David Costello's in there now. Jack Owens is in there, and Paddy Hosey. Like that's as good as any full forward line in any team in the county. Obviously, Darren Strong is a great man to pull the strings for them. Like if he plays well, Emo play well. So it's a little bit of work there for Josephs. Their defence is not too bad, Pat. So their Portarlington is flying there for them around the middle of the field, and they're probably one of the best young defenders in the nation in Sean Green. So they ain't too bad. And again, this could be. I said to you there about Portlaoise, that Emphasis could be a draw. This could be another tight affair, I think. So I think.
Been very impressed with all Montague as well.
Yeah. I think he only came in for someone in the first game that was injured, and he only came in kind of, and he had a man of the match. Lovely young fella, and of course his dad Sean. Yeah, a lovely man as well. So listen.
Pat Ryan is back there, his second stint.
Who?
Pat Ryan. I talked to him after the match, and he's on about, they have a plan, and he wants all the team to stick with him. And it looked like they were happy with him. So he'll devise a plan for Joseph.
Pat will have his homework well done at Joseph.
Experienced managers getting up against each other.
It'll be good. This has the makings of a great game, and it'll be an interesting game. And looking forward to that game, Pat.
They've transferred him from the old goalie to midfield.
It wouldn't be thing to hide. Listen, he's a top goalkeeper, Niall Gorman, and sometimes top goalkeepers win you games, Pat. If they make 2 or 3 top saves or that there, and they're asked to deliver, and they deliver, well, you know what I mean? It's a very important position. Now, listen, he's a big man. He must be 6'4" or 5", and he's a huge unit out in the middle of the field, and he's a good man to cover ground and whatever. But listen, Emo probably tried this, and it probably worked for them, and they're in with every chance on Sunday. I think it'll be another close game.
They probably need to get ahead of St. Joseph's. St. Joseph's are very comfortable playing the defensive system. Emo try and keep, Paddy Hosey, young Costello and Darren Strong, the 3 of them up front, and sort of work around them then, and trying to get a quick ball into Paddy Hosey and Costello, who are very dangerous. It's great to see Paddy back after a cruciate injury. He put in Trojan work during the year, and young Costello was a bright spark with the under-20s and that. But I think they would have to get ahead of St. Joseph's, or else St. Joseph's will probably stifle the space that those 3 boys have up front, and also the space that Portarlington thrives in, driving forward with his pace. They might be able to soak up that pressure and hit Emo on the counter-attack.
So we're looking forward to a good weekend. Plenty on at cover. We thank them again, and we look forward to the matches they're going to show again. So we finish up. Thanks to both lads, Eddie and Chris, and David Murphy, of course, earlier on, and thanks to Portarlington J Club for the use of facilities. They've had the cup over here a few times now, so there'll be a few clubs trying to get it back off them this weekend, and that's the way it is. It'll be great. But again, we're going to thank our sponsors, Ballylinan Brewery, Dick Dunn's Bar in Stradley, and Rocky's Takeaway in Ballylinan, and Irish Power Energy drinks there. Maybe drank a few of them there this week, but we'll drink more than we leave here afterwards. But again, so thanks for that, and thanks everyone, and we'll talk again. This is our first edition of Matchup, and we'll be back before the semi-finals, whoever it will be in it. Best of luck to all teams this weekend. Thanks.
Cheers, Pat.